12 German fighters climb hard through fractured cloud. Their radios crackle with confusion. The target is already gone, not turning, not diving, just gone. The farm boy from Iowa didn't dogfight. He did something no one expected. He outran them, all of them, and in doing so he cracked open a tactical doctrine the Luftwaffe couldn't counter. March 1944. The sky over central Germany is a killing floor. American heavy bombers push deep into the Reich every clear day now. 8th Air Force flies in rigid formations, stacked and gleaming, their contrails etching white geometry across 40,000 feet of freezing atmosphere. Below them, the land is brown and green and scarred. Above them, only the certainty that someone is climbing to meet them. The doctrine is simple. Bombers fly straight, fighters escort. And when the enemy comes, the escorts turn and fight. But the numbers are brutal. For every German fighter shot down, American losses mount. Not just bombers, fighters too. P-47 Thunderbolts and P-38 Lightnings tangle with Focke-Wulfs and Messerschmitts in twisting furballs that burn fuel and bleed altitude. Pilots return with stories of courage and chaos. Some don't return at all. The P-51 Mustang changes the range equation. It can fly to Berlin and back. But in early 1944, most American fighter pilots still think like dogfighters. They've been trained to turn, to engage, to mix it up. The Mustang gives them the legs. But the tactics are still rooted in the Pacific and North Africa, close, violent, personal. No one has yet asked the simplest question. What if you didn't fight at all? What if you just went faster than they could follow? The idea sounds like cowardice or fantasy, but it isn't. It's physics. And one young pilot from the flatlands is about to prove it. If this history matters to you, tap like and subscribe. His name is Second Lieutenant Robert W. Buchholz. He grew up in Iowa, where the horizon is a straight line and the wind never stops. His family farmed corn and raised hogs. He learned to fix machinery before he learned algebra, tractors, threshers. Anything with an engine? If it broke, you didn't call someone. You figured it out. He was quiet, not shy, just economical with words. He listened more than he spoke, and he noticed things, small things, the way a carburetor stuttered before it failed, the way a belt wore unevenly when a pulley was misaligned, details other people missed. When the war came, he enlisted, not out of ideology, but out of obligation. Everyone was going. So he went. Flight school was in Texas. Dust and heat and endless repetition. He wasn't a natural stick-and-rudder man at first. Some guys took to it like birds. Buchholz took to it like an engineer. He studied the manuals. He asked questions. He thought about energy and speed and how an airplane moved. Through 3 dimensions, he soloed, he graduated, he was assigned to P-51s. By the winter of 1944, he's with the 357th Fighter Group, stationed at Leiston in Suffolk, England. The base is cold, muddy, and loud. Merlin engines run up at all hours. Briefings start before dawn. The food is bad, the coffee is worse. The only warmth comes from the cockpit heater and the knowledge that you're flying the best long-range fighter in the world. Buchholz is not an ace. He's not flashy. He doesn't have a nickname or a painted nose art girl on his Mustang. He's a wingman, a solid pilot, the kind of guy who stays in formation and brings his leader home. But he's been thinking. Every mission, he watches the dogfights. He sees American fighters pull into turns, chasing German fighters that break and dive and lure them down. He sees the fuel burn. He sees planes get separated. He sees good pilots get killed because they committed to a fight they didn't need to take. And he keeps coming back to one fact. The P-51 is faster in level flight than almost anything the Luftwaffe puts up. Not in a dive, not in a climb, but straight and level, with the throttle forward and the Merlin engine singing at war emergency power. The Mustang can outrun most German interceptors, so why, he wonders, do we keep turning to fight? No one has an answer, or rather, no one has asked the question. The 8th Air Force fighter doctrine in early 1944 is built on offensive engagement. Escort fighters are supposed to stay close to the bombers. When enemy fighters appear, the escorts are cleared to break formation and engage. The goal is to destroy the threat before it reaches the heavies. This makes sense, in theory, but in practice, it creates problems. When American fighters dive to engage, they lose altitude and energy. German pilots know this. They bait the escorts down, then disengage and climb back up to hit the bombers. Or they send a few fighters as decoys while the main force attacks from another angle. The result is a fragmented escort scattered across miles of sky, burning fuel in turning fights. Even with the Mustang's range, fuel discipline is life or death. A dogfight can drain your tanks in minutes, and if you're low on fuel over Germany, your options are narrow. Bail out and become a POW, or try to glide home and crash in the channel. Survival rates are improving, but the cost is still steep. Fighter command knows this, group commanders know this, but the doctrine doesn't change, because no one has tested an alternative. The assumption is that if you don't engage, the bombers will die. That American fighters have to turn and fight or the mission fails. That speed without violence is useless. Buchholz doesn't buy it. He's done the math. He's read the performance charts. The P-51D he flies has a top speed of over 430 miles per hour in level flight at high altitude. The Focke-Wulf 190 tops out around 410. The Messerschmitt 109 is faster in a climb, but in sustained level flight, it can't keep up with a Mustang at full throttle. Which means, in theory, you don't have to fight, you just have to go fast enough that they can't catch you. But theory and reality are different things, and no one in the 307th has tried it. Not deliberately, not as doctrine. Buchholz starts talking about it. Carefully, with his wingman, with a couple of other pilots in his squadron. Some of them listen, some of them laugh. One of them asks the obvious question. What if you're wrong? What if you run and they catch you anyway, and now you're alone and out of position and they bounce you from above? Buchholz doesn't have an answer for that. Not yet, but he's going to find out. March 19th, 1944. The mission is Berlin. Again, heavy bombers stack up over England in the early morning dark. Condensation drips from wings. Crewmen stamp their feet against the cold. Pilots check maps, oxygen flow, gun switches. Everything is routine until it isn't. The 357th Fighter Group launches at 0900 hours. Buchholz is flying wing for his flight leader, a captain with 2 kills and a tendency to get aggressive. The plan is standard. Escort the heavies in. Stay close. Engage threats as they appear. Bring everyone home. They cross the channel at 25,000 feet. The sky is pale blue and empty. Below, the North Sea is gray and wrinkled. The Merlin engine hums. The cockpit smells like oil and rubber and sweat. Over the Dutch coast, the flak starts. Black puffs, staggered in altitude. The bombers fly through it. The fighters weave. No one is hit. Then the call comes. Bandits. High. 11 o'clock. Buchholz scans. Spots them. 12 contacts, climbing out of the haze. Focke-Wulf 190s. Maybe a few 109s mixed in. They're coming up fast, angling for the bomber stream. The flight leader calls the brake. The squadron peels off, diving toward the Germans. Buchholz follows, but halfway into the dive, something in his head clicks. They're baiting us. He doesn't know how he knows. Maybe it's instinct. Maybe it's the angle of their climb, too steep to sustain. Maybe it's the way they're not committing, just climbing and watching. He makes a choice. He pulls out of the dive, levels off, rolls wings level, and pushes the throttle to the stop. War emergency power. The Merlin roars. The Mustang surges forward. The airspeed needle climbs. 350, 370, 400. His flight leader is still diving, tangling with the lead German element. Buchholz is alone, and he's not turning back. He holds course, straight and level. Engines screaming, manifold pressure redlining. And then he sees them. Another group. 8 more fighters, higher and behind, waiting for the Americans to commit low. They see him too, and they turn toward him. Buchholz doesn't panic, he doesn't dive, he doesn't turn, he just keeps the throttle forward, and he runs. The German pilots react exactly as doctrine dictates. They roll into pursuit, noses down, throttles up. They have altitude advantage and numbers. The lone Mustang is a clean kill, but the kill never comes. Buchholz holds the P-51 straight. Airspeed passes 420. The aircraft shakes slightly, buffeting in thin air. He trims nose down a fraction to keep acceleration smooth. The engine temperature gauge creeps toward the red. He ignores it. He's got maybe 5 minutes at this power setting before something breaks, maybe less. He doesn't need more. Behind him, the German fighters open up. Tracers arc past his wings. Most fall short. A few pass close enough that he can see the flicker of phosphorescence, but none connect. Because they're not closing. They're falling behind. The Focke-Wulfs are fast, but not this fast, not at this altitude, not in level flight. They're built for climb rate and roll. The Mustang is built for speed and range. And right now, speed is everything. The German formation starts to string out. The faster aircraft pull ahead. The slower ones fall back. Their firing solution degrades. The distance opens. First 100 yards, then 200, then 500. Buchholz glances at his mirror. The pursuing fighters are still there, but they're smaller now, losing ground with every second. He keeps the throttle pinned. His engine temperature is in the red. Oil pressure fluctuates. He can feel the airframe vibrating, rivets buzzing under stress. The Merlin is giving him everything it has, and it's enough. One by one, the German pilots break off. They can't catch him. They know it, and they're burning fuel they can't afford. Buchholz counts them as they peel away. 3, 5, 8. All of them. He's alone again. But this time, he's alive. He throttles back, lets the engine cool, checks his gauges. Everything is still green, barely. He's burned a terrifying amount of fuel. But he's still flying, still heading west. He looks around. The sky is empty. No friendlies, no enemies, just blue and white and the thin scratch of contrails fading behind him. He survived, not by fighting, by refusing to fight, and he just proved something no one believed. You can outrun them. Buchholz lands at Leiston 90 minutes later. His crew chief sees the engine cowling first, paint blistered from heat. Oil streaks dark along the fuselage. The Merlin ticks and pings as it cools, metal contracting. Buchholz climbs out. His flight suit is soaked with sweat. His hands are shaking, not from fear, but from adrenaline finally draining. He reports to the intelligence officer, describes the engagement, the 12 interceptors, the decision to run, the pursuit, the escape. The I.O. writes it down. No commentary, just facts. But word spreads. By evening, half the group knows. A lieutenant outran a dozen German fighters, didn't fire a shot, didn't turn, just ran. Some pilots think it's luck, others think it's brilliant. A few think it's cowardice. Buchholz doesn't care what they think. He knows what happened. And more importantly, he knows it's repeatable. Within 2 weeks, other pilots in the 357th start testing the tactic, not as a primary strategy, but as an option. When you're alone, when you're low on fuel, when the odds are bad, instead of turning to fight, they run, throttle forward, level flight, maximum speed, and it works. German pilots begin reporting a disturbing trend. American fighters that refuse to engage, that simply accelerate and disappear. Luftwaffe radio transcripts from April and May 1944 show repeated references to Mustangs that cannot be caught in level flight. The tactic spreads beyond the 357th. Other groups hear about it. Briefing officers start mentioning it, not as doctrine but as common sense. If you can't win the fight, don't take it. Use your speed. Survive. The impact on loss rates is measurable. 8th Air Force fighter losses per sortie begin to decline in spring 1944, not dramatically, but steadily. Fewer pilots are getting separated and swarmed. Fewer are running out of fuel over enemy territory. Part of that is experience. Part is better tactics overall. But part of it is Buchholz, one farm boy from Iowa who figured out that the fastest way to win a dogfight is not to dogfight at all. Robert Buchholz survives the war. He flies 73 combat missions. He's credited with 2 aerial victories, both in situations where he had no choice but to engage. But his real score is higher. It's measured in missions where he didn't die, in wingmen who followed his lead and came home, in fuel saved and fights avoided. After the war, he goes back to Iowa. He doesn't talk much about what he did. When people ask, he shrugs, says he flew fighters, says he was lucky. But luck isn't the right word. What Buchholz did wasn't luck. It was observation, logic, and the willingness to act on an idea no one else had tested. He saw a problem. The doctrine said engage. The doctrine cost lives. So he questioned it. He didn't have authority, didn't have rank, didn't have permission. He just had a throttle and the guts to push it. In 1983, a military historian tracks him down for an oral history project. By then, Buchholz is in his 60s, still quiet, still sharp. The historian asks him about the mission, the 12 fighters, the decision to run. Buchholz thinks for a moment, then he says he wasn't trying to be clever. He just didn't see the point in dying when the airplane could go faster. That's the whole story, he says. The P-51 could outrun them. So it did. The historian asks if he was scared. Buchholz nods, says he was terrified. But fear, he says, doesn't mean you stop thinking. Robert Buchholz dies in 1996. His obituary is 2 paragraphs in a local paper. It mentions his service, his family, his farm. It doesn't mention the day he outran 12 German fighters and changed the way American pilots thought about speed. But the lesson survives. In every fighter pilot who learns that survival is a tactic, that discretion isn't cowardice, that sometimes the smartest thing you can do is go so fast the enemy can't keep up. Buchholz didn't chase glory. He chased the horizon, and in doing so, he gave others the chance to do the same.